Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Plays. We got him. You requested. We love him. The one, the only, Jack Antonoff, man of many talents. And we're going to talk about them all. And somebody who's newlywed, and we want to congratulate you on your marriage, my friend.
Hey.
Hey. Rumor has it that Margaret is a super healthy lady.
Yeah, huge.
And Dave and I have been on this kick about being healthy and drinking healthy waters and stuff.
Okay.
So what we want to do is send you a case, you and Margaret, a case of these BLK waters. Some are flavored, some are not, so whatever, but they have amazingly good health benefits, and we're happy you're happy.
Oh, I'd love it. I'd love it. We're just trying to something about I'm trying to be healthy every way I can. It's easy for her, hard for me, but so I'm gonna drink them all.
Well, and it ties a little bit into where we go. It's really hard to be creative if your body's failing you or you're too tired, you can't do, because we're already pushing the envelope, right? So
yeah, but at the same time, it's also hard when you have mental exhaustion, which comes from writing and recording and mixing and producing.
yeah,
you feel like you deserve anything. So it's also hard to, I feel like every session kind of starts the same. It's like maybe a couple days, everyone's being healthy and, doing all this stuff. And then one day, one night, something great happened and someone's like, let's just order a pizza. And then the thing, not artistically, but from a caloric point of view, flies off the rails.
absolutely.
And my routine is I eat a bag of sprouts and a bag of dirt. That's what I eat for
Smart. And that just keeps you going, Dave. That's the secret sauce.
Yeah, a lot of minerals,
And do you do I would think you would do the dirt first, but
no, sprouts first, always.
Okay, and then dirt.
Then dirt.
Yeah, I've heard about this. Mix engineers doing this.
So Jack, question for you. When you do a number of different things, some things serve as an outlet for things you can't do other places. Where does Bleachers fit in your life, and what does it allow you?
Well, Bleachers is my band, and I've always had bands.
Yeah.
It's a separate energy. It's a separate feeling. I've always loved. I've said this before, but I think what's interesting about music and making music is people assume these are one thing, but they're very separate loves. Like the love of writing is very different from the love of performing. The love of touring is very different from the love of being in the studio. The love of engineering is different from the love of producing. These are all these things, and I've just always loved it all. And my whole life, I mean, I came up in bands, so it was, writing music, getting together with a band, playing that music, and then living on tour was really from like 16 to 26, like the first decade of my professional music life was just that. And I always produced records too, but I didn't know necessarily that's what I was doing. I loved being in the studio. I loved recording them. I loved, I'd have all these ideas and sounds and make them happen. Engineering as well. I remember when the first M-Box came out and I was doing it at home, but I didn't sort of realize necessarily what I was doing until I started doing it with other people. So they're just, I feel like when I was young, I did all these things. And then as I've grown up a bit, I'm doing the same thing, but just through different avenues. But I guess the answer to your question is I've always been in bands. I can't imagine my life not writing music and performing it. It's a conversation you have with an audience that makes you feel alive in a very specific way.
Does that exchange then come back and inform your songwriting and your producing on other things?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Because especially nowadays when I think we all need some outlet to be with people. And the internet can, specifically like Twitter or things like that, can be mistaken for people.
Yeah.
Because A, some of it's literally not people, some of it's bots. But B, it's not people who like music. It's people who like music and like tweeting about that. That's a separate thing. So when I'm on tour, the second I get there, I'm automatically grounded in a reality. And it's the same. And by the way, it's not just performing. If I go to a show, I'm grounded in the reality of being around people who had a large barrier of entry to be there. A ticket price, and nowadays it's more than a ticket price. It's like getting screwed left, right, and center.
Right.
Getting there, work, school, babysitter, whatever you got to do. It takes so much to be there. So to be around people, whether you're playing or at a show or even just with friends listening to music, who music is their culture. They're not passive music people. It reminds me who I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, while we're doing that, name a song that really lets us know what your soul is like.
That I've written, or something I hear my soul in.
Take your pick. Take your pick.
A song that I've written. There's a song called Chinatown on the last Bleachers album, and it just every once in a while you can have all these reference points for what you want to sound like or what you feel like, but there's this kind of buzzy guitar loop and this shoegazy drum and this acoustic guitar and the lyric on top of it. I wrote that song alone in my room and started recording it, and that song sounds like if someone broke me open. And then you start to I wrote that song alone in my room, and then Evan Smith plays horns and Bleachers came along and he wrote the main synth line, which is a huge part of the song, and that felt like someone else was seeing my soul. And then Springsteen sings the second chorus with me on it, and that felt like someone who had helped me articulate where I was reporting from and the music I loved and how it can come through you was ushering me back in a full circle moment. So that song is just kind of not in a dickish way, but sometimes you guys know how this is. Sometimes you get something and you don't wonder how anyone will feel about it. You just think, wow, I distilled what I'm doing in my soul so deeply that if you don't get this, not only am I not offended, I'm happy. You're not invited. Like this is it. If you don't fuck with this,
Yeah.
and not, I know this is beyond the question now, Dave, but that's actually my favorite thing when I'm working, and that's actually when I know something is ready. Mine or something I'm producing is when everyone in the room says, "Oh, this is like this will help us not just gain fans, but weed out the people who aren't going to get it because this is my soul."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Songs I produced, I feel that way about, like a song like "Cruel Summer" or "Getaway Car" with Taylor, Lana's A&W, like, or "Venice Bitch," like these songs where I'm just like, just sounds like the room. It just sounds like this dream.
I've said this many times, but I always think it's better to sound new than sound good. What do you think about that?
100%. I think that not only do I agree, but I've never heard it articulated that perfectly. Well, because really, it's a bit why, like, I never want to do anything that can be learned.
Mm. Mm.
Wow.
And so at the end of the day, I mean, I want to learn all the best mic placements, and I'm always learning. I'm learning new. I'm still the person who's listening to music and hearing the parts and sitting down the drum kit or piano and learning them. But I mean that final product. I only want to release things and do things that have that piece that isn't, here's how I did it. Because this is why sometimes it's funny when I do some of the song breakdowns, is because at the end of the day, I open the session, I'm like, I don't fucking know how I did that. Right. I can tell you how I mic'd it. Right. But at the end of the day, like, especially with analog gear, it's like, I don't know why I sounded that way that day. And I promise you it never sounded that way again.
And you know what, Jack, to your point, I think what I've noticed in your work and other people whose work I admire, there's a kind of, let me take a step off the cliff and leap, and we'll see where we land, and we'll see what we have, and we're going to be a little bit scared, and we're going to be a bit thrilled, and we're going to make something out of this because we want to go find something new, not something. Is that part of the process?
It's the only part of the process that we're sure of in the room.
Mm.
That's it. The only part of the process. Everyone's got their, like, I like the cliff idea Bowie used to talk about. I forget his wording, but he would say you walk out into the water until it's right up to here. Bruce talks about moving into the darkness. Like, however you articulate the moving outside of anywhere you've been,
mm-hmm.
you must. I always use the phrase, North Star is this idea of like something super far away, but that's something that everyone in the room is chasing.
Yeah.
Because I think that's essentially the soul of good work, is everyone seeing the same thing and being humble enough to look at it, not demand it's over here or there.
Yep. And I think you also have to accept that you're not going to get there. You're going to constantly just keep going, right?
Well, I've always seen albums as like you, or by the time you get there, you've articulated a new place you're going, which is sometimes there's all these signifiers of when something is ready, whether it's a mix or a song or a full album. Like, I feel like it's when you get that bullish, like this sounds like the soul feeling, but then also when you start to leave a little bit, and you in your mind, because when you're really cooking and you're really into something, it's like there's no space for anything else. And so I always look for those moments when I actually feel like, the feeling when you're working on a mix and you're like kind of tortured and thrilled by it, and then sometimes you kind of think like, oh, that's it, that's it.
Yeah. I always have to come back the next day
Yeah, me too.
because I start near the end of the day. I start hating myself, and then when I come back, I go to Sam, my assistant. Did you work on that, Sam? Oh, Dave, I did. I'm like, damn, that sounds good. Good.
You know what the worst is? The only thing worse than hating yourself at the end of the day is putting in a big day, thinking that you reinvented religion, coming in the next morning and being like, no, that's
My thing is, how can you tell if a melody is new or old, or you're like, is it original or is it just something you heard on somewhere else? That always scares me. When I tried to be a songwriter, I'm not a songwriter, but I tried once in a while. But I kept thinking, is this an original melody or am I just an idiot? Well, it turns out I was an idiot. Yeah.
Really? What song did you rewrite?
I didn't write. I don't remember. This is like when I was 16, 17, 18, that kind of thing.
Well, I think you like, I remember like early when I was writing songs, I would just write, and then I would just believe that they were kind of, I just heard them in my head, and then I would make them reality. And then I think there's this thing where we all know, like, look, you could put it on a chart and say this melody is this, but it's the combination of the melody, the way you perform it, what it's coupled with. And so you just have those moments when everyone's had so much music come through them in their life that you're in the studio and you just know it's brand new. And then every once in a while, and this is the duty of this is part of the job of songwriter. Sometimes you get something and you think, God damn, I just reinvented the wheel. And then someone says, it's a little close to this. And you say, you're right. And then you change it. You change it, or you call it a cover. Like, you kind of, that's what it is. But I'm constantly, I've used this food analogy with you guys before, but I think one of the things I love so much about music, and particularly popular music, is a bit like the best piece of pizza, where it's how do we get there? How do we use the same ingredients? Because at the end of the day, it's like, I think we act like there's all these gadgets, but there really aren't, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, think about every synthesizer in the world. There's kind of a few main sounds, in my opinion. Like, you got the Model D, you got the OB stuff, you got the Mellotron, you got the Juno, you got the Prophet, there's the ARP, and then there's all these millions of other things alongside of it. I'm M1, DX7, and I'm obsessed with synths, and I spend my life saving on synths. But the further I go out into all these other things, the oscillators, I kind of feel like the spectrum is a bit what it is, which I love. Or the guitar, there's the acoustic, there's the nylon string, there's the 12 string, there's the electric, there's different tones within them. But what blows my mind is the more time I spend in the studio, I realize that I'm after something that is unexplainably different. And it's the same thing for me with a mix or a song I'm writing, where I'm not looking to, throw a cello off a roof and hear the sound of it hitting the ground and claim I found the new sound. I'm looking to use these classic tools and find newness within it.
It's like it's kind of the process that I understand in Anti-Hero that the Lynn drum played for you, and tremolo. And
That's a perfect example. Like the Lynn drum is so recognizable, and tremolo is so recognizable, and there's like a distorted kind of drowned in chorus guitar on there, but I hadn't really heard a Lynn and a chorusy guitar, which I get is a bit Princey, jammed through the entire track tremolo. So it's like it's those aha moments when you just feel like you've taken all of these familiar things and you've run them through some process that feels like I've never heard it before. And I hear what's happening. I hear the tremolo and I hear the Lynn and I hear the chorusy guitar, but all together what I feel is this congealed thing. Point is, like, that was a perfect example of a moment where I was like, oh, this is good. And then I showed it to Taylor. She was like, oh, this is good. And then kind of watching her, when sometimes when we work, it's like sometimes she'll bring in a song and I produce it. That's kind of like me, like stepping up and honoring the song. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we'll write something together and we'll just writing as it goes. And then sometimes I have a track. This is what Enta here was like, and I'll play it for her. And if she hears what I hear, then she goes into this sort of like crazy obsessive writing place. And so as soon as I played her that tremolo Lynn thing, I just remember seeing her like look down and I was just like, oh, here she goes. Mm-hmm. And she went. But that song to me is a perfect example of elements that we found newness in weird ways.
Well, and that's actually a segue. Sorry, Dave. That's a segue that I thought was interesting. I had I've always been curious when somebody who has such a creative force about them and has done things with other creative forces. When you and Taylor get together, something magical happens. When you and Lana get together, something magical happens. There's things that happen where then you're not only being inspired, but you're pulling from people too. Like I was at your new facility in LA and I was watching you and Sounwave interact, and there's something seems magical with you and Sounwave and the way you work together. Do you pull from each other?
Oh, he's someone who everyone you named, it's very rare. Like I actually have a pretty small circle. So the people in my life, I could pretty much name them on one hand or two. It's like it's Lana, Taylor, it's Sounwave, it's Sam Do. Like I have these people in my life who I don't just respect. I don't just adore their work. Mm-hmm. I'd fly off a cliff with them. And that kind of energy is like Sounwave is, when Sounwave pulls out his MPC, like something happens to my soul. Like he is doing something that is just magical to me, completely magical. And that's like, and him and Sam do a lot of work. And Sam Do is, probably the greatest living singer. When he starts stacking harmonies, I'm not happy because work is going well. I am like fucking touched.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel when I'm working with Taylor. That's how I feel when I'm working with Lana. That's how I feel around the Bleachers guys. And it's really, this shit is hard enough. So you better surround yourself with people who, I don't have critical thoughts about these people's work. We're just on a journey together. Like I'm nothing but adoration for all of them.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of talking to Verdine White about you.
Oh, he's the coolest, man.
And that's what he was saying. He was like, man, just being in the studio, we were just grooving. We were just letting it happen. Like it's just two cats who dig each other and let's see where it goes, and that's I think
I had Verdine going through an old, the Copycat.
Yeah.
I had him going through a Copycat and he was playing bass and we had him going into the board and the Copycat, taking both signals, and we were just making the Copycat go insane. He's playing with it, and it was just kind of, Verdine White, one of the greatest musicians in the history of the world, and someone who I've idolized and grown up listening to. But in that moment, we're two friends just messing around,
just grooving.
Yeah, you have to have that, or else, that's it.
That's it.
We can call it whatever we want, but that's it. And if you can find that with a small group of people, you're the luckiest person on earth.
Yeah, I've got a question that's stupid. Well, another question that's stupid. So there's 12 notes, right? We got 12 notes. So now, if you had those 12 notes and you were plagiarizing, but then you went to India and you put 12 more notes in, so now you got 24 notes, would that be okay?
I wonder. Well, I think a lot about the space between notes, right? So like,
Yeah.
and I think that's what's really nice about like analog synthesizers, acoustic instruments is very often you haven't locked yourself into one of the 12 notes. You've kind of, if you're playing an acoustic guitar and it's a little detuned, just a teeny bit, and then you're playing a synth that's a teeny bit sharp, like a Model D, you might get something that the tuner will recognize here and there, but in feeling is, I guess it's a little like there's a universe between each of those 12 notes.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably, yeah.
So another key team member who I had the pleasure to meet at the new studio, which I want you to tell us about how that's coming, is Laura. Laura she was amazing for me to talk to. And just hearing her work on your records, and then putting it together with meeting her, she's key to what Jack Antonoff does, correct?
I mean, she's the best engineer I've ever worked with. I've ever known. I've worked with her pretty much just the second I met her. She worked on the first Bleachers album, and then I just asked her to do everything with me. Brilliant mix engineer, and just, I mean, you know how it is. Like those moments in the studio, I feel like one skill is creating, and then another skill is protecting. So Laura's a brilliant engineer and a brilliant mixer. But that aside, she's also incredible at making sure that moments don't pass. I mean, I've seen her work magic, and it's not simple stuff. It's like, oh, grab the drum kit, only take the overhead mics, throw it through the Benson, put it through the even title, just go, and it's just up and knows how to grab the happy accidents, knows what we're looking for in the room, knows that at once perfection means nothing, and also at the same time we're looking for magic, so everything's got to be recorded in the best possible way because we want to get all the signals. If we're blowing this to hell and back, we want a clean signal too. Just so much so that when we're just going like that moment with Verdine, and we're just throwing shit at the wall, when everything calms down and I go in the next day, she's captured everything in a way that there's no limits.
Yeah. Amazing.
And a brilliant engineer is they're rare because so many people now just produce and engineer at the same time. So the relationship, because I am an engineer and a producer separately.
Mm-hmm.
They're truly separate skills. Sometimes I'm doing them as one, and sometimes I'm engineering, and I'm just doing that. Sometimes I'm producing, and to have that producer engineer relationship, it's a bit classic and it's a bit rare, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That shorthand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I mean, Dave, you must have it in your with people you work with, right? Where it's just like they kind of live inside your head with you.
Oh yeah.
Like even down to like prepping a mix is like so delicate.
So now you got a new spot in LA. The vibe was incredible. I won't give it away because we're going to shoot there, but there's some secret bookshelves. And
Yeah, we got to shoot. We got to
shoot there.
We got to do like a Super Bowl of Pensado's place. Like,
absolutely.
I want to bring in my whole team, and we got to bring in all these producers we're talking about. Go around the studio.
Yeah.
If Dave wants to, I know Herb's in.
Oh, I'm in.
Okay. I don't know if you're going to be too stuffed on sprouts and dirt at that point.
Yeah. And by the way, if you are, the good part is you can go to Jack's studio, and in the event you have to go to the little boys' room, there's tie lines in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You can record in there. You can put headphones on. You can do it. Every thought has been thought through so that you can.
Well, that's like, we always end up, I mean, we build this place from the ground up. And the one thing Laura and I just talked about is like, let's make sure everything's accessible to tie lines, and then let's just have ambient mics in a lot of places. Because there's always just, so if you look up in the ceiling, there's a good amount of mics in the drum room and the control room. It's just always nice to take, especially because like if you're playing, I mean, I've even done stuff where I've just take in the room, even if we're listening back and monitoring, and just like beat the crap out of that through just like some pieces of outboard gear, and you just get almost like a synth sound made of the room or something. Like there's just, I just love being able to capture the room in a non-controlled, I'm taking the room mics or I'm putting up room mics, just things that exist always.
Now, Dave, I know that you've got a batter's box standing by, and Jack is good at batter's boxes. So.
Yeah, but I want to get beat up, Dave. Like really take me to town.
I'm not worried. I have my food to take care of me.
Oh, okay, cool. So this will be the Sprouts and Dirt version of batter's box.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I forgot a chaser of vodka.
Chaser of vodka.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So it goes Sprouts, Dirt, vodka.
Right.
In that order. All right. Let's we got a Brooklyn boy and Jersey boy, and although every time we've done a batter's box with cats from that area, they are tough sports people, very tough. So, Dave, you ready?
I'm ready. More than ready.
All right, tee it up.
Okay. Try and keep it tight. Major or minor key?
Minor.
Mastering.
Always. Vital. Underappreciated.
I said one or two words, man.
Oh!
Take off 3 points, sir. 5 decades. Your favorite decade for music?
This.
No.
So far this. I said 80s last time. I'm not gonna. No, I get points for not repeating myself. Put the 3 back on. Put the 3 back on.
You got them back.
Okay. Lyrics.
The Seed.
What's your favorite chord?
I like that diminished kind of G. It's not the chord that opened Hard Day's Night, but the little darker version of it. I forget exactly what it is. Don't dock me points on this, because if I played it, it would be beautiful.
Okay. Well, I should know it myself. But
other favorite chord is I like a D minor. It always makes me want to write if I'm noodling around on a D minor.
Yeah, that was my next question. Virtual synth.
A Tool.
808s.
Classic.
Distortion.
Must be done correctly.
Auto-tune or Melodyne?
That's like saying drums or banjos, 2 different instruments.
Mm.
Oh,
Nice.
Oh, I think I pissed Dave off there for a second.
Nice.
You got me on that one. I'm okay. Woo. Samples.
Go off. Go nuts.
Biggest influence other than me.
Other than you, I might say Herb, or is
And
it just
Herb.
other than either of you two, Jeff Lynne, 100%.
Wow. Amazing.
Favorite headphones?
Master and Dynamic. I love them. Have for a long time.
Okay, you win.
Okay. Well, hold on, but it's tradition for me to flip it on Dave.
Okay.
You ready?
Right.
You ready?
Go.
Ready for this?
Sure. Yeah, I love
Here
this.
you go. All right, you ready? Pre-production.
Everything.
The Wonder Audio CM7.
What the fuck is that?
Then that gets into my next question. Knock off U47 mics.
Oh, I love all the 47. Yeah, I have one. I have a knockoff. It's not
Okay.
a good one.
Okay. ATCs.
Excellent.
Auto-tune or Melodyne?
Auto-tune.
New York or New Jersey?
New York.
Ooh. That face said it all.
Biggest influence?
Ooh. Allman Brothers Band. Great. Dwayne Allman.
Oh, interesting. I was raised on that.
Me too. I lived in Florida near them. We sort of grew up together.
I only saw them. I used to go in New York. They'd play the Beacon for 10 nights every year.
Ooh.
And my dad saw them. I don't think he was at the Fillmore show. That's like the classic Fillmore show, Fillmore East, but he would go see them there all the time. I missed Dwayne, but I saw the JMO, Greg, Dickie Betts, O'Teal, Derek Trucks, and Warren Haynes, sort of the heyday before Dickie left, the heyday of like the second generation band. All right, we have a new champion. It was me, and in a shocking turn of events, no one thought it was possible, but Dave Pensado came in second. No, I was kidding. Dave Pensado is the champion of Batter's Box. I am a firm second. And when you guys come down to my studio, here's the twist. Me and Dave are going to grill Herb.
Let's do it.
Double Batter's Box. Yeah.
Let's do it. I want to come in every direction.
Yeah, every direction.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I got me, Laura, Dave, Sounwave, everyone's firing off at Herb. Yeah.
I can't.
But it won't, to make it harder for Herb, I mean, for us, Herb won't tell us what. Let's try and put ourselves in his world, but without having without him telling us what to do.
Okay. We'll have to have like a pre-meeting. Yeah.
Come beat me up. Well, look, this is only part one. Part two is going to be live at Jack's studio in LA.
I really can't wait. Everyone, your whole community and everyone who watches this, I'm really excited to show everyone the studio, because I told Herb this at the studio. And when I met Dave at the conference and we were at the Mix with the Masters booth, I had the same feeling, which is, and this goes out to everyone watching, there's very few people on the planet who care about the things that we care about. And so when you spend all your time sitting around and doing this work, and then you spend time building a space, and everyone knows this feeling, from when I was a kid, and I would build out a little space at my desk and set up my speakers, and just, then the speakers got better, got more gear. I just can't wait to show the studio to people, because no offense to some friends or whatnot, but some people I show it to them looks cool, and I'm like, no, do you realize how fucking cool it is to have the Benson reverb and the Benson echo chained together all and so I really want to do that, because I feel like the Pensado's Place audience is the few people who will give a shit what I have aimed to accomplish in that room.
They will appreciate it, and it's going to be fun to show the little things that you guys thought about that other people don't thought. The mics, overhead,
and the machine room, I'm proud of. We can wait, but the machine room, a lot of studios. We went through that period in culture where people stopped building studios because home recording became so big. So what was really fun about building this studio is most of the studios I spend time in were built in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, when there was sort of, giant live room was king, small control room. And then the funny thing that happened in the generation that they stopped building studios and everyone started working at home, we all got really acquainted with doing everything in one room. Mm-hmm. So the whole theory behind the studio is what happens if you build a big, beautiful studio, but with what we've learned there. So, I mean, you'll see it when I show you, but to the audience, you've seen it, but the control room is massive and the drum room is kind of tiny. And it's because in the biggest drum rooms I've ever been in, I always find myself building a fort over the drums.
Yep.
And I know it's sacrilegious. But I just thought to myself, if I ever want a massive drum sound, I'll book a day somewhere. But in my experience, I'm always building a fort. So let me just build the room like a fort, not eat, and then put all the space in the control room. So that's where people can be, and that's where many synths can be. And it was. We were just thinking about it a lot when we were building it. Like, why do all these studios have the same feel? And it's because they were built at a time when that's what it was, and then people kind of stopped building studios because everything changed. But a lot of us really believe in studios. So,
Yep.
Let me ask you a question, and this is serious, and I think I'm wrong, but were you ever on the show in your bedroom and you had a bunch of little trinkets and toys all over?
Yeah,
that was you.
Yeah, that's so. I'm downstairs in I'm there, but we're doing a little construction up there. In New York, I have a room in my apartment, which John Storick, because the first time I worked with him, helped he configure. So I either work here or Electric Lady. And Electric Lady is obviously the mega studio, but here I put in my childhood wallpaper in that studio, Dave, and I had all these Star Wars toys and just all this
I like that
Butter.
room. I always wanted to do that.
Yeah, I'll send you some. I'll send you. That was definitely me. I kind of got obsessed with this, like, because it was the first studio I built that was like a little real studio, and I wanted to bring all my crap from my childhood home
I don't
just
remember
to.
that as a real studio.
It's a real studio in the way that like one can be in a home,
Okay, gotcha.
like
I meant
like
it that way too.
yeah, like the literal, like, I mean, there's ATCs in there. There's great instruments and great outboard gear. There's no board, but there's the quality of recording I can get there is outstanding. It's a home studio,
Yeah, same here. Same here. Yeah,
which
thank you.
is some of my favorite spaces.
The the saga continues. We will be setting up with Team Jack when we're going to go over to the studio and interview the Antonoff family, and then I'm going to get bombarded by a 6 directional
Yeah,
inputted batter's box.
it's gonna be wild.
It's going to be absolutely wild, and that's what happens when you have great friends who happen to also be brilliantly talented, but it's who they are as people, and that's who Jack Antonoff is. The back-to-back wins for Grammy Producer of the Year and all the nominations and Golden Globe nominations, all deserved. This is not only is a bad boy, but he's a great dude, and that's why we like. That's why we like him on Pensado's Place. Jack, we love you, buddy.
I love you too so much. Thank you guys so much. I love hanging.
Absolutely.
I'll see you at the studio. I'll see you at the studio for the
studio. And so stay tuned, folks. We will see you next week, and we will be at Jack Antonoff's new studio very soon. Until then, deuces.
Hi, everyone.